first thing we're going to do, we're going to take this no-seam and we're going to line it up. We're going to make this our lead edge. We're going to just flip it over. Okay, we're just kind of making sure we're going to have extra down here. I don't want too much extra up here. I just want enough. Because what we're going to do is we're going to tape it down and then we're going to sew that edge. Notice that there is about a 1/4 inch bar here. We're actually going to sew between that bamboo bar and the very first bamboo thing. If your brush mat is only bamboo rods, so to speak, bamboo sticks, then come down at least 3 or 4 of those sticks to sew in. I've seen some like that as well. So we're just gonna kind of tag it so it stays in place while we're working on it. We're pulling it fairly firm around that edge. That's really all you need to do to hold it in place. To sew it though, I'm gonna turn it this way. So I have, and I'm pulling it tight, and it's pulling tight around here. Needle and thread. Nothing fancy. It's just a slightly large needle. The thread is a coat thread. You can use anything you have at home. The thinner the thread, you might want to double it up. But I happen to have coat thread in the studio for this purpose. It's easy to sew with, it's thick, and it makes a great screen. Makes a great screen holder. We're going to just start with the first chain line up here. We're not necessarily going to stab through that sewing. We're just going to kind of work our way there. So all I'm going to do, is this good? We're going to, let me get it through the back. I'm coming through the back. There we go. We're going to just pull it through like this. And I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to tie a knot. That's it. Taking the tail, and notice the thread is single. I'm just going to tie a knot. I'm going to make sure that when I tie that knot that my no-seam is pulled tight so I don't form a pucker. Okay, if you need more tape, put more tape on. But that's all you need to do. And then I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, all the way down. And I'm just going to eye that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go through. And we're going to come around without sticking my finger in there. And as we come across, we're going to pull it taut. I want to keep that, my thread almost came out. I want to keep that thread taut and firm. It's a little awkward showing you guys sewing toward the camera. You'll make it easier on yourself, I'm sure. I am actually going through, yeah, there we go. Front to back, just sewing along. It's nice to have a little extra on the edges. So if for some reason you seem to go askew during your sewing, you have extra. Because we're going to trim all that extra off. Because if we don't, it kind of collects fiber in the vat and it kind of makes it a mess. Any fiber that's being collected on the edge of your screen is a kind of a waste of fiber. You want all the fiber that you have to go into sheet forming. Not being washed away somehow. All right, we're going to come up on that last one. I'm just going to loop around, and I'm going to just come through it, and then I'm going to just tie off. Once again, I'm just going to make a simple knot here as well. Whatever it takes to get yourself a nice little knot there. And then trim it off. We'll trim off the extra threads. And then we're going to take off our tape. And we are securely on. We look good. Okay. We might go ahead and trim this edge up a little bit. First thing we're going to do though is trim off our sides and trim our bottom a bit. And to do that, I'm going to employ a mat, because I like using them, because they can square up really nice. I'm going to go ahead and square my mat on here, but I'm also going to use this ruler. I'm going to go right up to the edge of that bamboo and let the ruler hang over the bamboo just a bit, so I don't cut into the bamboo with my X-Acto knife. I'm holding everything firm, and I cut it. Works great. You can use scissors if you want. I just cut this because it seems to go much cleaner. It's not a jagged edge. I'm going to go ahead and turn this around. Make sure everything's secure. Make sure my bamboo, my screening is all the way to the other edge. I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to cut it clean. Okay. Now the edge here, you notice on this one, I have about a 1/4 inch over. I like to have that, and I'll show you why when I make a sheet of paper. So I don't cut it flush with that. I'd rather have a little bit of a catch. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put my, I'm just squaring up my bamboo because sometimes it's easier to do it like that. So I'm going to go 1/4 inch over. Oops. Let me line that up one more time. There we go. Okay. And so I have a guideline. And cut it. I'm going to go back, cut through anything that didn't cut clean. And there we have it. This, I'm more than happy to just trim up with a pair of scissors. And I like to trim that fairly short. I don't like it catching material, and I don't need it to be super straight. We just cut it across. And you can also put a cutter underneath that as well. So there we have it. It looks nice and clean and tight. I have a little bit of a extra piece there. Cut that off. So this is going to fit our screen perfectly. That looks great. So here we have now our full unit ready to use. We have our weather stripped and glued together frame. We have our glued together bottom piece, the mold. We have the screen with the fine mesh, and we have the top. We definitely need a fine mesh. Some people might suggest mosquito netting or something like that. If you're going to use something other than no-seam, it just limits the fiber choices at hand. When you have this fine mesh on here, you're able to use thick, bulky recycled pulp, thick, bulky cotton rag. You're able to use fine, finely beaten abaca that's crispy. You're able to use a lot of natural fibers. In my book, In the Field, it's all about processing natural fibers. And that book, this is the suggested surface screen. Because anything more open or more has a wider mesh, the fiber is going to get caught in there, because most natural fibers are a very fine fiber, and it doesn't allow the fiber to sit on top. It actually lodges into the screen. So the no-seam is really key. I personally like the black. The black does help at the vat sometimes see the thick and thinness of your sheet. If that's a issue when you're working with really thin sheets, it can help. But you can get no-seam in, I think, white and olive, whatever a tint window would have. Let's walk over to the vat, and I'm going to show you how to pull a sheet with this. You're going to want to make sure that your bamboo screen is wet. And I've already have pre-soaked this screen. I like soaking it so everything drains quicker, because I'd be doing production. Here is my my vat. I'm using a blue cotton rag. This is actually a watercolor paper. Alrighty, so we're gonna just do a Western dip with this. Most of you are probably familiar with that. Sheet forming is something we can go over in another video. This is really about making that Sugeta. But since this is not, and I'm referencing it as a Sugeta because the way that, even though I just pulled Western style, which is a more or less like a mold and deckle, which is what we're doing here, you cooch very much like a Sugeta. You cooch like an Eastern style sheet, which is why I want to show it. So we're gonna let that drain. We're gonna remove our top deckle. We're gonna pick it up at the lead edge, which is the sewn edge that you have. And then we're going to actually grab our bottom here and tilt it at 90 degrees and we spin it. Because our lead edge, we can push all the bubbles to the other end and not get any sort of bulk. Because there's no exit, this will flap open. So we're gonna go ahead and push with the water. You see that water come through, that's our release, and we just pull our screen up. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you how the second screen would work on top of this. In a minute, I'm just rinsing off my mold so I don't get blue pulp in my gray vat. The vat over here is actually a gray color. Put my mold on here. The blue on here, if anyone's curious, is just puffy paint or textile paint. There's very little gray pulp in here. So we can make a nice thin watermark. And we're just gonna pull a thin sheet of it across. It's gonna drain super fast because there's hardly any pulp. Once again, we grab that, here we're grabbing at the lead edge, here's the bottom, we're turning it, and I'm gonna line these up exactly. Do the press. And there's our double cooch on top of that with a watermark sheet. I'm gonna go ahead and show you, the reason why I wanna show you this one with the placemat, notice that with our other mold, with our other screen, we have the sewn edge on the long edge, so to speak, and this is on the short edge. So it's not really much different, but it's a little different. Once again, these Sugetas can be purchased through Colophon Bookarts. We're gonna go ahead and just stir up our blue vat again. Everything's put together, and we're going to actually do a Western dip. So the dip. Let it drain. Alrighty. We're going to go ahead and lift this. It's on a hinge, which is nice. We're going to take our lead edge, which is obviously our sewn edge. And we're going to just go down at a 90. Press lightly but firmly. That water, we know that's our release from our screen. And we're able to, oops, I guess there's something in my vat. We're able to pull that up. Once again, these screen surface types, the no-seam, were designed, I use them a lot because I want to use them for making natural fibered paper. And that way I can really have a fine pulp that's able to be released from the screen. And you saw how easy it was for those pulps to be released from this screen type. So that's how you make a Sugeta. Thank you very much.